Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me for this webinar for A Christmas Carol. We are looking at Bob Cratchit and other minor characters. We're exploring these characters through quotations, and the aim is that these quotations will reveal more about their characters, link to key ideas and themes, and we can analyze these quotations using some subject terminology. So Bob Cratchit is an important character because he is a symbol of the working class. He's someone with very low wage who works very hard, and he's managed to create 6 children, so eight in their family on 1 wage. Now, Scrooge is incredibly critical of him only having 1 wage and a huge family, and therefore should be miserable. But we see the opposite with Bob Cratchit. Despite the fact that in the first stanza he shivers in the office, he's only allowed a candle to warm himself and not any coal. We see at the end of the stave that Bob went down a slide on Cornhill at the end of the lane of boys 20 times in honour of its being Christmas Eve, and he ran home to Camden as hard as he could pelt to play at blindman's buff. So despite the fact that he's a symbol of the working class who are exploited and underpaid, you can see the liveliness, the energy, the excitement, and the vivacity with which he's living. So that numeral lexis 20 times shows that sense of joy and fun, and also the fact that he honours Christmas in his own way. And we see that word at the end of the stave where Scrooge is forced to beg for his life. He honours Christmas Eve by running full pelt and playing at blindman's buff. So we have a sense that he recognises that the season is a special time, is a joyful time, despite not having much money with which to celebrate. We also see that it says they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time. This is a very poor family. They don't have a turkey. They have a very small bird. They have a very small Christmas pudding, and yet they are happy and grateful and pleased and contented. So these words are really in juxtaposition with everything we know about Scrooge, who's grasping and scraping, unhappy and bitter, despite his wealth. And this is an exciting contrast to really show that the working classes can be joyful despite not having everything they need. Now, that at the end, we foreshadow or predict a death if Scrooge doesn't change his way. It's the death of Tiny Tim, the youngest of the Cratchit families. And we see here, Mrs. Cratchit kissed him, his daughters kissed him, the 2 young Cratchits kissed him, and Peter and himself shook hands. So this use of epistrophe, so kissed him at the end of these clauses, really shows the connection that the family have. It's a deep bond, a very secure bond of affection and trust and compassion, and they find comfort in each other despite the loss of the youngest member of their family. Let's think about another important character. This is Marley. Although he's a minor character who only makes 1 appearance in the novella at the beginning, the very first stave, he's really important because he represents very important themes. He really represents regret, remorse, and redemption. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole residuary legatee, and his sole friend and sole mourner. He's the only person in his life. So he was the only friend that Scrooge has, and this shows that isolated nature, that these 2 men were peas in the pod, bitter and anxious to gain more money and not more friends. However, when Marley appears, there is this sense of regret and remorse. And he says, I wear the chain I forged in life. The chain was made of cash boxes, ledgers, and heavy purses. So the fact that he was in pursuit of material gain and in pursuit of wealth does not help him in his future life. So there's that sense of redemption. He doesn't have to, Scrooge doesn't have to go the same way as Marley. He can change. And Marley confesses that mankind was my business. You've got this word, business, which is linked with money and profit and entrepreneurial spirit, but also the idea that looking after and keeping busy, he should have been more looking after and keeping busy with other people rather than the selfishness. The final character to look at of the minor characters is Fizzy Wig. Again, he doesn't, like Marley, make a huge appearance, but he is significant because he really is the epitome of moral conduct in business. He's a foil, that means the opposite of Scrooge and Marley in his conduct. And he says, yo-ho there, Ebenezer Dick, no more work tonight on Christmas Eve, on Christmas Day. He tells them to stop working, which is the opposite of what Scrooge does, because he is the grindstone and he makes people work. He squeezes the lifeblood out of his employee. And here Fezziwig stops them from working. And he confesses, Scrooge confesses, that Fezziwig has the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome. The happiness he have is as if it cost a fortune. So that he understands the moral responsibility of an employer. You can make your workers suffer and in pain, or you can make their service light. So this word light has a double meaning. It means that you can enlighten them. You can show them the way to go. You can be a role model, or you can be the opposite. And with these juxtaposing ideas, Scrooge realizes that he can make the choice to be a better boss. I hope that's helped you understand Cratchit, Marley and Fezziwig in more detail. Thank you for joining me, and goodbye.